Welcome. Let's see, is it live? Okay, it is live. Welcome to the True Sky Crew podcast, where we help you align with the true sky to align with your true self. This is episode number 27. I am your host, Sachi, also known as Sachi the Seer, and we are going to be talking about all things Pisces. Today, we have our special guest, Island Amber. We are going to go over the 2025 island stuff in my mind. 2025 calendar and daily planner. We are going to do a season 2 announcement as well as talk about all things Pisces. And if you have any questions, make sure that you drop them in the chat and we can either answer them as we go or we will address them at the end of the episode. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our special guest, Miss Island Amber. And Amber inherited her love for uncovering the deeper mysteries of life from her mother, who was an astrologer. And she planned Amber's birth according to the cosmos. I absolutely love that. She grew up with her family's birth charts framed on the wall, and at age 7, taught herself how to read her own chart. Amber has read hundreds of charts over the last 7 years and is currently taking a pause to focus on some other creative endeavors. She recently returned back to her roots on Maui, where she spends her time freediving, sun worshiping, and photographing the beauty of the islands. If you'd like to get on her wait list, you can email her at amberclaireastrology@gmail.com, or you can follow her at Island Amber with 2 underscores in the middle on Instagram. So welcome, Amber. It is so lovely to receive you. Aloha, aloha.
Aloha. Thank you so much for having me, Sachi.
Yes, I'm so glad that we're going to talk all thing Pisces. So first, I'd like to, if you could share a little bit about your true sky awakening of when you realized that you were an actual Pisces, and then a little bit about what it's like to be a Pisces for you.
Oh boy. Okay, True Sky Awakening for me happened in 2020, basically through just following a bunch of astrologers that were pointing their phones up with those sky view light apps and showing like this is where the sun or the moon actually are. And something about like when you just see the photo in real time, looking up at the sky, you can't argue with that. And so, I mean, like you said in my intro, astrology has been a part of my life literally since before I was born, growing up with an astrologer mom, and my whole life thinking that I was an Aries. But there was a part of me that knew that I was not an Aries. I
Mhm.
never really resonated with it. I felt Pisces to the point where I remember being a kid, like maybe 7 years old, and at like Walmart or whatever, you could get those like zodiac t-shirts. And like my mom bought me an Aries, but like I made her buy me the Pisces one because I'm like, no, I feel more Pisces. And then when I started teaching myself how to read my birth chart at that young age, I realized that my Mercury and Mars were in tropical Pisces. And that was like the most validating thing I had ever learned about myself. I mean, in my 7 years of life, but just
Yeah,
feeling so like misunderstood and just trying to learn like, who am I and why am I here? Which I feel like is part of the Pisces journey as well. That for me started
definitely.
very early. Yeah,
Yes.
just like coming down here as this little cosmic soul being like, what is going on? And just
Yes.
feeling like so connected to magic and the higher realms and like coming down here where that's just like not an automatic thing and being like, what's going on here? Um,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
have found most
learned.
Pisces are very in tune with the existential questions in life at a very early age.
Yes. And then throw in the fact that I have Chiron in the ninth house. It's like my whole life has just been like one big existential crisis. But we're learning to love it.
Yes.
So yeah, I learned that I had tropical Pisces placements early on. That was a big game changer for me. But then in 2020, having my true sky awakening and realizing my sun is actually in Pisces and my Mercury and my Venus and all of these other placements, it just made sense. But that also too, because at that time I was a practicing astrologer reading tropical
Mhm.
birth charts, and then when you receive information that kind of goes against everything that you've been taught and the way that you've been doing things for so long, threw me into an existential crisis of like, what am I even doing? What have I even been sharing with people?
Yeah.
So yeah, finding a way to incorporate that into my life and let go of the tropical algorithm
Yeah.
was a whole journey in and of itself for sure. Um, and this podcast that you've been doing has been so refreshing. I've been a dedicated listener since day one of the podcast.
Oh,
And so it's so
excellent.
surreal for me to be on it now. But yeah, so what has it been like being a Pisces? Um, I mean, I feel like life is but a dream, really kind of just sums it up. Like I said, always just being aware of magic in the unseen realms and feeling like just so connected to source. Um, which can be hard, like living in this
Yeah.
very dense material world, surrounded by people that are so disconnected. Um, and I mean, of course, Pisces, as well as all of the other signs, have such a wide spectrum of expressions, both high and low.
Yes.
And I mean, I've surfed all the all the nuance between those two ends of the spectrum. Um,
I'm sure you've
every
surfed and deep dived. You're free diving. Free
Yes,
diving into
literally, like
Pisces.
my whole return back to the islands, back to my home on Maui, was a whole Pisces initiation in and
Hmm.
of itself that
Yeah.
also kicked off in 2020. I mean, that was a big year for everyone collectively, but
Yeah.
um, myself especially, like went through this spontaneous overnight quantum leap where I literally went to bed and woke up a brand new person. There were lucid dreams and meetings of my guides that had to do with it. Basically had like a soul braiding or walk-in experience where this like future version of myself came through and was like, yep, no, it's time to get you back on the Maui timeline. And so then life just cleared the way for that to happen. So dreams guided me here. Humpback whales guided me here.
Yes.
Literally an opportunity to swim with humpback whales fell into my lap
Oh,
in 2021. And in that moment, and after that trip, I realized like, oh, the Pacific Ocean is my home. It's like time for me to move. Um, and then, yeah, I came back here and was literally just like paddleboarding with humpback whales like a couple weeks ago and
oh,
free diving,
amazing.
swimming in their songs. And life continues to be a dream. But I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'll stop there for now.
That is so beautiful, and especially once we get further into the episode, we're going to be talking about some of the fixed star alignments. And Amber has shared that some of hers are activating Difta and Cetus, and Cetus brings in those whale codes. So connection to whales is a very, very Cetus energy. Everything you explained is very Pisces Cetus. So
Yeah.
I absolutely adore that. Uh, so real quick, I want to talk a little bit and about the True Sky Crew products. So if you are into the True Sky astrology, I really highly recommend them. That way you don't have to be constantly consuming content online. We have the True Sky astrology calendar, and the calendar gives a brief glance on a day-to-day basis of just what is happening in the actual cosmos above. So it will show when planets move into a new constellation, or even in the void space between constellations, or the blended space of two constellations. It also shows daily moon movement. So even, every day the moon is trucking through. So it shows where the moon is. It also has some fixed star solar alignments, and then some, major celestial events, new moons, full moons, equinoxes. Um, and eclipses. We just got out of that eclipse portal, and holy moly, was that intense. And it has a lot of other information, as well as a key at the bottom, so that you can, if you don't know the little symbols, then you can look at it for yourself. And I find it very helpful because it's all symbols in the squares, because that helps people still be able to write their information in. And you can do that at sachitheseer.com in the True Sky Astrology Tools section. We also have the 2025 daily planners. So April currently is 50% off since we are halfway through April. So if you're interested in trying it out for half the month, this would be a great time to just check it out and see how it is. Every single day has 2 pages associated with it. One is the astrological information of the day. It has the daily ephemeris and it also has it spelled out. That way you can see if it's in a void space or in a blended space. It has the moon information of what's going on, the if there's any retrograde planets, when if they're stationing retrograde, if they're actually retrograde, if they're stationing direct before they're actually turned direct, any sign changes, any exact conjunctions, and any fixed star alignments for that day. And then it also has like the general vibe of the day based on where the sun and moon are, and then the numerics of the day for anyone who does numerology. And then we also have the journal on the back that helps you plan your day in the AM and PM, as well as journal any thoughts, musings, dreams that you may have had. And if you are interested, I will show you. Let's see where to go. Let's see here. Oh, maybe it's not. Okay. Well, I guess I'll ask you, Amber. So I know that you have the April True Sky daily planner, and what were your thoughts on it?
What were my thoughts on it? Well, first of all, I'm no stranger to having astrological planners. Like my mom had the calendars with the transits. Like, so growing up, that was just like a very normal thing for me. And obviously, this is so different because it's the true sky. And I think it's so cool because there is literally nowhere else you can go that has all of this information right here. Like
Yeah.
I've been aware of the daily planner for some time now because I've been following this podcast for over a year, but getting to actually use it, there's so much information. Like you put so much work
I
into
know.
this planner,
Yeah.
and it just like makes so much sense for me to use this as a calendar and a timekeeping system because like this is truly how you actually tell time and
Yes.
like know what is going on and what time it is and where we are in time and space. So, I mean, it's so much more than just a calendar. And I love that it has the whole page, like you provided so much space to be able to write down dreams, musings, to-dos, like literally whatever you want. And then you have it right there where you can see all of the daily transits. And I love that you can see them too. Like I'm such obviously Pisces, I'm very visual. And the fact that like the daily chart and like the visuals are there. And it's so detailed. And I love that it's also like you have that physical option where, I mean, for me and just where I'm at in this season of life, like I use the technology as much as I need to for my work, but like I'm not looking for more things to like look up and like spend more time on my computer or my phone. I am
Yeah.
such a hard copy gal and I love
Hmm.
putting pen to paper and having that visual and that physical copy. So I love that you offer that as well. Um,
Awesome. Thank
yeah,
you.
I could go
Yeah,
on, but
and
it's the best.
awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I really love it too. I use it every single day to plan my day, and even knowing what I know about various fixed stars, it not only helps me understand the energy of the day, but it also helps like when I'm having various astral experiences in my dreams of different symbology that come up, I can tell like, okay, it's associated with this star, maybe not necessarily my energy, but me observing what's happening with that alignment in the star. So I just really love the wealth of information. And I know try to advertise for it a decent amount, but I feel like people, yeah, they don't understand the amount of information until they actually get their hands on it. I've had so many people message and be like, "Oh my God, like I did not realize what this was," and I'm like,
Same.
"Yeah, it's
Like
amazing."
just buy it for the full moon, new moon interpretations alone. Like there
Oh,
was
thank you.
so much information for the past full moon that we had. And then I skipped ahead because I was wanting to know what we were coming up on with the new moon.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, your interpretations are spot on, and you're including all the other transits and planets that are involved. And it's so practical because you give us that whole other pages where it's like an herbal and a crystal recommendation and affirmations. And so it's like a real potent way of grounding that energy.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that you found that helpful because it's really been a labor of love and a joy to share that. And honestly, my favorite part is the writing. I shared with you that I'm a Gemini rising. So if
Makes
it's
sense.
yapping or writing, I'm all about it.
I was like, man, how did she come up with all of this? This is so many words. It's so
Yeah,
overwhelming for my
I'm
Mercury Pisces self.
I'm a very seasoned channeler, and thankfully, I have a love for words. So it's
Beautiful.
been a very long journey of me transmuting the ineffable information into things that other people can comprehend. So
Love that.
I'm glad that you enjoy the writings.
Yeah.
So anyone who's interested in getting the calendar or the daily planner, you can go to sachitheseer.com. You go over here to the little more button, or if you're on your phone, it's I think 3 lines or 3 dots, and then go to True Sky Astrology Tools, like so. And then I guess it's a little slow. I have so many programs open right
All the
now.
tabs.
Yeah. Well, it's not all the tabs, just like different programs
Oh,
of
I see.
things for the episode. So, yeah, May is already available as a PDF copy, and then the physical copy, which I recommend getting it as soon as you can if you are interested, because physical copies, I send them to the printer the day of the order, but they can take 1, sometimes up to 2 weeks, depending on where you live. And this is just the cost of the PDF planner plus the cost of shipping, or plus the cost of printing, I mean. So it's the exact same thing. It's just the cost. You can either print it yourself with a PDF or you pay for the print and have it directly sent to you. And it comes in a spiral notebook form, which I love because I just like the days that are past to like get out of here. And then, as I mentioned, April is 50% off for the PDF. So if anyone is interested in just testing out the kind of information that's in there, I highly recommend it. All right. Oh, and if you're interested in your True Sky Natal chart, that is also available as a service without interpretation. So you can order your chart, get your True Sky placements, including a chart that will show you whether it's in the void, blended space, as well as your alignments and activations in your chart of specific stars. So if that interests you, you can go ahead and head there. Okay, one more announcement before we begin our awesome Pisces chat is we are looking for some season 2 to guests. So also thank you, Amber, for closing out such a beautiful season of season 1 of the True Sky Crew. It definitely has gone through so many shifts, and I'm really excited to redirect energy in season 2 and have it be more community based. So thank you so much for joining. And so we're looking for season 2 guests. If you're interested in being a guest, email the trueskycrew@gmail.com. In the email, if you could please include your area of expertise and advocacy. So whether you're a True Sky astrologist and you use it in your work, or maybe you just are on the True Sky algorithm, you use it as your timekeeping mechanism, but maybe you do something else. So whether what your expertise is or anything that you're advocating for, if there's a certain cause or thing that you think the collective needs to pay attention to, reach out. And then also what topics that you would like to discuss, or if you want one assigned to you, or if you'd like to discuss a month's transit. So if you want to discuss a month's transit, I would prefer if you were a professional astrologist or astrologer, if that's what you want to go by. And that way we can decode the celestial language together for the month. And then also if you own a business in astrology, spirituality, or similar area, or I guess any business really, because the thought is that you can advertise for what you do and find like-minded individuals that are interested in supporting whatever craft that you have. So if this interests you, do not hesitate to reach out. I would love to start planning season 2 ASAP. I wanted to make sure that we got to Pisces during Pisces season. So not only having a beautiful Pisces guest, but also having some Pisces energy in the collective. And I'm not sure if we're going to start season 2 by the time, it's in the Aries seat is void. But hopefully by Taurus, but no promises, y'all. All right. So without further ado, we are talking all things Pisces. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. All right, so we can review some basic information about Pisces. So it is a mutable water sign. So obviously water associated with intuition, feelings, the emotional body, psychic energy, and mutable, meaning that it can change at any instant. It forms the shape of its container, so to speak. We also have the constellation size is about 37.5 degrees on the ecliptic path. Pisces is a huge constellation, and we have so many fixed stars to go over because it's just humongous. Virgo is bigger, of course, but Pisces is also really, really huge. Um, Amber, do you have any thoughts on Pisces being mutable water or also being just like huge in the sky?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I never even realized how large it was. I mean, I know Virgo was big, but 37.5 degrees. So there's like a lot more Pisces out there than people probably think.
Yes.
And in terms of just like the mutable water, I mean, it's all about go with the flow. And sometimes that's like getting swept up in other people's flow and just like not even realizing like, oh wait, I'm my own like self-contained independent person. I can follow my own flow. And that's also just been like a big part of my journey and returning back to Maui and being an adult post Saturn return and like really in this season of life of like, okay, what does my flow look like? And like, who am I? What do I want? Instead of just getting like swept up in other people's directions.
Yeah. And even the
Yeah.
flow of the water, it's almost like learning different aquatic lessons of kind of like salmon energy, of being able to even flow upstream and go against the current.
Yes.
Even though Pisces is typically, it goes with the current. That is the energy of it. Um,
Totally.
but of course, there are the two fish. So it's like one goes up, one goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And Pisces is ruled by Neptune, that's its primary ruler, and then co-ruled by Jupiter. So, what are your thoughts on the ruler and co-ruler?
Yeah. I mean, I love Neptune. I feel like anytime it comes to Neptune, it's like kind of elusive energy or can be hard to just like pin down. But can be very interesting nonetheless to see like wherever it lands in someone's birth chart. But I mean, Neptune's all about piercing the veil and like seeing beyond the physical into the unseen. And it can be, I feel like Neptune just has like such distinct ends of the spectrum where it can be so divinely inspired and creative and intuitive, but it can also just be so delusional
Yeah.
and like foggy and confusing and like lack of clarity. Um, but yeah, Neptune's a beautiful planet. I also love that like I'm not doing astrology currently, but my life has evolved into becoming a photographer, and Neptune rules photography and lenses and mirrors and reflecting. And
Hmm.
yeah, having that creative artistic medium has been really, really huge. I'm currently going through a massive Neptune transit right now. So, in a lot of ways, I feel the most Pisces that I've ever felt in my life, where Neptune is conjunct my Mercury right now.
Oh,
And I've
nice.
got Chiron on my sun. It's been there for a while. So, yeah,
Oh, wow.
Neptune's initiating me big time, where basically I feel like the rose colored glasses are coming off and it's like yeah, just looking at some cold hard truths that I didn't want to see before. So that's been fun.
Hmm.
And then with Jupiter as a co-ruler, yeah, I feel like I haven't really I thought about Jupiter as a co-ruler of Pisces, even though I have that in my awareness. In my tropical chart, I was a Sagittarius ascendant, so Jupiter was my chart
Ah,
ruler.
okay. Uh-huh.
So I've always kind of just seen it through that lens. But yeah. What about you? How do you feel about Jupiter being a co-ruler of Pisces, or how do you feel like that shows up?
Yeah, so I guess first I'll share my opinion about Neptune and how it's related to Jupiter. So I
Hmm.
also really love Neptune. I have obviously as an intuitive, psychic, astrologist, all these sorts of esoteric things that I do with my life. I've been very connected to Neptune as a very, very small child. So I've been doing Neptune level work for quite some time, and it's multidimensional. It helps you see through things. Along with like my Pluto level stuff that I do with my Sun conjunct Pluto, it's like just constant changes. And the the way that Neptune unravels the layers of delusion and illusion to help you see the reality, which is kind of similar to what Pluto does, except Pluto can sometimes like explode it instead of being like, ooh, look, oh, what's under there, like Neptune does. Neptune feels a lot more kind, I
Yeah,
want to say.
totally.
And but it's constant unfolding. It's almost like a lotus flower where you're trying to get to the core, and as soon as you get in, it's almost like one of those fractal things that just starts over again. And the constant evolution of that is to kind of get to the core of what is being, right? What is being, what is uh existence all about? What is the point of existence and all these sort of existential questions. And Neptune at its highest expression is spiritual alignment, which can typically look different for different people, but there is very common core truths to what spiritual alignment entails. And so when it comes to the layers of Neptune that are required to navigate in order to get to through spiritual alignment, which includes, the low vibrational aspect of Neptune, like feeling, victimized or being an addict. Alcoholic is huge with Neptune, heavy people or Pisces heavy people in general. And also any sort of like delusion cults and all those sorts of like low vibing Neptune things in order to get to spiritual alignment. And sometimes those lessons have to be learned through those lower things. And so the connection to Jupiter that I find is Neptune ultimately wants you to have your highest soul expression and spiritual alignment. So that is in itself very kind of north nodey soul expansion-y.
Mhm.
And Jupiter helps you expand in general. And it's through Jupiter that we change our perspectives, change our perception, and those things are go hand in hand with spiritual belief, spiritual alignment. Whether, Neptune is the delusion of like religion almost, and Jupiter and Saturn set the foundation for what a religion is. Jupiter being the belief system and Saturn being the institution. So it's really the belief systems and the unconscious programs of cognition, again, perception and perspective that tie into Neptune, because it's like it goes both ways. One, the level of how you're perceiving reality, Neptune is going to reflect that back to you. And if it's such a nasty energy that you're seeing of how you're perceiving the world, then that's when Jupiter can, or not Jupiter, Neptune unravels a layer and says, hey, you got something wrong here. And then, you have a spiritual awakening through Neptune basically, and then it shifts your Jupiter perspective and perception. And also, they kind of go hand in hand when it comes to the spiritual truths. It's like you can study them academically through Jupiter. It's like all of these things, whether it's magic, astrology, um, any religion or any sort of belief system or rituals that you may want to do, whatever it may be, any type of esoteric information. It's all there through Jupiter. You can study it on your own. You can study it in academia. And so there is a certain philosophical aspect to spirituality that comes along with it, because a lot of the ancients were wanting to ensure that this information, remained for us and that we can take that information and apply it in our own lives. A lot of things have been passed down with antiquity in mind. So I do think there is that level of connection as well, although obviously, magic and all these sort of things it's like you can find the information in a book, but you can't find the magic itself in a book. And that's where Neptune is like more dominant, because you have to experience it and be in that water element of like literally feeling it.
Mic drop. I love how you connected the two. Yeah, that makes so much sense with Jupiter and then Neptune being like the actual having that experience and the feeling of like, the intellectual, philosophical information you can gain through Jupiter. But yeah, Neptune definitely has a way of activating those experiences and giving you a peek beyond the veil.
Yeah. And it's typically for your betterment.
Totally.
And that's why, a lot of people who are addicts or alcoholics or whatever, they find themselves at rock bottom sort of thing. And that's Neptune being like, all right, but definitely with
Mhm.
some Pluto in there too. But it's usually Neptune that's like, whatever the soul is feels that it's missing, of why it feels that it's not whole. Neptune is the one that's like, are you going to fill it with junk? Or are you going to fill it with
Yeah.
something good?
Yes. It's so true.
And there's also the aspect of like, the highest spiritual principles through Neptune. When you are living in spiritual alignment, you're going to be the highest vibration of Jupiter as well. You're going to be optimistic. You're going to be happy. You're going to be lucky. You're going to be abundant, right? There's these like false concepts of like, oh, if you're spiritual, you have to be dirt poor and wear a little diaper sort of thing. It's like, no,
Not true.
opposite.
Yep.
Spiritual wealth is physical wealth, and that
Yes.
is thankfully something that is finally getting through to the collective. But that like false energy definitely was in that Neptune Jupiter
Mhm.
co-ruling through Pisces.
Totally.
So Pisces also rules the feet and the lymphatic system. What are your thoughts on those body parts?
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought it's so interesting that like Pisces rules the feet when it is this like ethereal, dreamy, otherworldly energy and archetype, but it also just makes so much sense that it's like Pisces really has to work with keeping their feet on the ground. Otherwise, they're literally going to float away into the ethers, into other higher realms. And I mean, grounding and lack thereof have also just been like big experiences throughout my life. And the older that I get, and the more, I mean, it's an ever unfolding journey, but more masterful I get at being a Pisces. Um, I mean, grounding is everything. Grounding in nature, literally having my feet on the earth, walking barefoot as much as possible, um, is so huge. So huge.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Did
I
you
was
want
gonna
to?
say, yeah, it's very true. Definitely the grounding aspect for Pisces is so important to remember, even though you're accessing all of these, other dimensions and
Mhm.
spirits and things like that, to remind yourself you're still an earthling, you're still in this body, and you can't negate that fact, and you can't try to escape it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The dissociation tendencies are real, but at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it's like you're human. Be here, be where your feet are.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, lymphatic system. I mean, like it just makes sense with like the water theme and the fluids. And I mean, I'm very grateful to have had pretty solid health throughout my life, but I have experienced stagnant lymph issues in different points of my life. So yeah, keeping the body moving and the waters flowing internally has been very important.
Hmm. Yeah, and the lymphatic system also helps rid the body of toxins. I think most people have stagnant lymph and they just don't know. And it's actually a major cause of disease and inflammation in the body. And mostly because I think humanity has become a bit more sedentary
Mhm.
than in the past. So even just, moving, jumping, all these sorts of things that naturally get your lymph moving, which they're mechanically activated. So you have to, let me just like do a little bit of lymph stuff
Mhm.
now. You
Yeah.
have to mechanically activate them in order to get those, juices flowing. And it gets toxins out of the body. And as we talked about with Neptune, it's associated with, like alcohol and drugs and addiction and things like that. And the lymphatic system is the one that helps clear out of the body, obviously with the help of organs and such. But the lymphatic system can also take on external uh energy. So it's like if you're in a toxic environment, whether it's mold or, asbestos or even toxic ass people, like your lymphatic system is definitely going to respond to that for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
And in regards to the feet, I always when back when I used to do uh a lot of tropical uh assessments, I would always say like at Pisces, I always have like one foot or one fin, in another dimension. Like
One fin. Yeah. Pisces don't have
one,
feet. We have fins.
yeah, one in, one out. All right. So let me open the Sky app real quick. We can kind of, or maybe I'll just talk through it and open the Sky app at the end. It takes a while to load. Okay. So Pisces true season. So please take note, everybody. This is 2025 data. So obviously our solar system is not a repeating algorithm like Some would wish it to be. Yes, it repeats and we know how to track it, but we need to track it accurately. So this is 2025 data. So the sun enters the Aquarius Pisces void. Oh, yay. Okay. On March 7th. Here, let me, of this year, or it entered this year. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right. And that's when the sun passes the alignment with Phi Aquarius. So we'll just take a look. Um, Okay. Okay. When it passes the alignment of Phi Aquarius, and then it moves into Pisces only energy on March 11th. And that's when the sun is aligned with Sima, which is Gamma Pisceum, which we will talk about later. Sometimes they like, oops. Let's see. Oh, come on. Okay. There we go. I guess I'll just have to click on them. Sometimes I don't click. Okay. When it passes Gamma Pisceum, and then we have it going to, it enters the Pisces Aries Cetus void on April 19th. So that is the void space where it's kind of hard to pinpoint. That's where we also have triangulum energy in the night sky. And so as we can see, so it's when the sun enters this space here. And right, because this is the ecliptic right here, the yellow line. So it finishes its last alignment and then it's in this void of Pisces Aries Cetus void before it aligns with the first star of Aries, which is something that we'll also have to address in another episode. But Aries, by definition, is not a zodiac sign anymore. It's just not. So yeah, that's just an issue in itself. But we do have this energy. Triangulum is up here. So this is like the trinity of creation here between Pisces, Aries, and Cetus. And there's a lot of codes from the interdimensional aspect and the Cetus sort of historic, kind of multi-lifetime historic aspect into the new birth before you become material reality into Taurus. So there's a lot of reincarnation codes of how energy gets recycled, basically, in this area of the sky. And then the sun enters the Aries Cetus void, so completely devoid of Pisces energy. Well, I guess you're never devoid of Pisces energy, but in terms of where the sun placement is on April 23rd. So I have a post upcoming, but it's like, when is really the zodiacal new year? You know, is it when it enters the Aries Cetus void or is it when it enters Taurus? You know, it's kind of hard to pinpoint.
I'm glad someone's asking those questions now.
Yeah, I have to. It's just in me. All right, now let's see here. All right, so now we will move on to Pisces. So we have three major symbols that are associated with Pisces. We have, of course, the astrological symbol that you see quite often, which is very similar to like a Taurus field almost. And then the two fish, and then the yin and yang. I've heard it called yin and yang. I was told that's actually how you pronounce it, but every time I say yang, I always feel really like, am I pronouncing this correctly? Because everyone just calls it yin yang. So, but yeah, Amber, what are your thoughts on these symbols?
Yeah, I love what you said about the Taurus field. I think that's really interesting. I mean, I just resonate with the fish. being tossed about in this cosmic sea, swimming to and fro. Um, I'm not familiar with the yin yang symbol as connection to Pisces. Where does that come from, or what do you?
Yes, so it is so as the two fish sort of thing, the dualistic aspect of that. It's duality as unity consciousness, and that's what yin and yang teach us is that, okay, even though we have these polar opposite energy forces, they're actually in one, and you can't have one without the other, and that's what those little
Mhm.
circles represent, because there's a little bit in each, and that's how we are all connected, and everything is connected.
Yes.
So yeah, it's usually a representation of unity consciousness
Mhm.
through understanding duality. And that's what I really find about Pisces quite frequently, especially with the two fish. It's
Mhm.
like one fish goes one way, one fish goes the other. And it can be understood as we of course are all connected, but there can be equal and opposite emotional experiences to something. And it helps us really
Mhm.
anchor in the emotional versatility and the subjectivity of each individual experience that happens. So two people can have, a conversation. One person walks away thinking, "Oh, that went really great," and another person can be like, "Oh my God, that was so bad." So there's this emotional subjectivity to personal experiences, but again, they are connected because we know we are all one. We know that is at least an anatomic or um, a fact on an atomic level. We know
Mhm.
that to be true, and even subatomic level. But we know that we're all connected. We have, the science if you need that to understand it. Uh, but even still, even though we are all one, it does not mean we are all the same. Not, and we're not supposed to be the same. And that is also part of the yin yang energy of understanding the necessity of duality in this earth plane.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I also feel like I mean Pisces as the symbol of the fish, I know it has connections to like Christ consciousness and Jesus' symbol with
Hmm.
the fish, so all that ties
Yes, yes,
unconditional
definitely.
love.
That's
Mhm.
that is such a great point. And especially because if you take that fish, which is like that, if you put two of them together, well, it's like basically infinity cut off. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably the religious influence on it, but Christ consciousness in general and just Christ does have that infinite energy to it. And that's also what Pisces represents is, it is the infinite. It's that, the ending is a new beginning.
Hmm.
And,
Eternal.
there truly is no end. It's a constant stream of, again, unity consciousness. And then even if you put two of those fish together, it looks like the genetic strand of a double helix.
Hmm.
There's also of how the
Trippy.
infinity codes come through us, genetically as well.
Cool.
Mhm. And some of the phrases of Pisces are I believe, I embody, and then the I am Godhead, which I want to talk about briefly because the the mantra or phrase that is associated with Aries is I am, and that's to distinguish the self, right? And it's kind of like a complete the sentence thing. I am what? I am this person, I am kind, I am beautiful. But when it comes to Pisces, I am, that's the sentence. I am. It is the Godhead consciousness of being with a capital B,
Mhm.
of really just being. So I want to make sure to differentiate that for anyone out there who's like, wait, that's Aries mantra. It's like, yes, but not the same.
Not the same.
Mhm. What do you think about I believe in I embody?
Yeah, I really feel the I believe one. I feel like Pisces out of all the signs, or I feel like all the others for all the other signs, it's kind of like seeing is believing, but Pisces is the total opposite. It's like you believe, you have that faith and that trust, and then through the belief and the vision and the dream, then that becomes a part of your like material reality.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it also can tie into that Jupiter co-rulership too,
Mm,
because there's like kind of two beliefs. There's the kind of underlining Jupiter philosophical belief system versus the true belief of like having faith in something or just like feeling it and like knowing it with a capital K kind of energy that Neptune brings.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I find that when a belief is truly a belief, like the feeling type of belief, that embody is also part of that. And then when you are spiritually aligning in that embodiment, that is also a true expression of really believing it. And then that, of course, also materializes in the external reality as well.
Mhm. For sure.
Any more thoughts on?
I mean, the I am body phrase is new for me with Pisces, but I'm definitely gonna reflect on it. And
I added that personally.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I think it's like a real key for Pisces too. I mean, even just to remember that like you have a body.
Yeah.
Be in your body. It's very easy to be floaty, dissociative, escapist. Um, and yeah, I feel like the more that Pisces can embody
Yeah,
whatever it
it's
is
more
they're
like
trying to
in
embody.
body,
Yeah,
like
yes.
in body. I
Uh-huh.
feel like that there's something there in body and like in hyphen body.
Yes,
That is
same
such
but
a good
different.
point of like, yeah, getting inside the body. And yeah, that is so important because again, it's like they're so psychically in tune with everything. It's hard not to just be there. It
Yes,
sometimes it's a lot more interesting,
for sure.
especially
Oh yeah.
being younger and like seeing what this earth plane is and being like, okay, I'd rather go to La La Land.
Oh, oh yeah, my fantasy dream life that doesn't even exist. Sometimes I would want to choose that over real life. Yeah, for sure.
That is very, very common,
Mhm.
which is a perfect segue to the archetypes. So, some of the archetypes associated with Pisces, we have the mystic, the artist, the dreamer, the multidimensional intermediary, the dream walker, the medium, and the illusionist. And I would love to put photographer on here as well. I mean, I feel like photographer and artist go hand in hand, even though artist is a very general term. But
Mhm.
I love that information that you brought through about how it is associated with the lenses and the mirrors and things like that. And it's funny because actually there are certain stars associated. One is with lenses and one's with mirrors. So we'll talk about that. But
Oh.
thank you for bringing that through because I know exactly where it's coming from.
Mhm. That's cool.
Yeah. So any thoughts on any of these archetypes or your own experiences with these types of energies?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I was just born a mystic. Just like,
Same.
yeah, right. Just like devoted to like the mysteries and the unknowns that just kind of like transcend the ordinary, which can make it difficult to cope with and be present with what is ordinary and mundane. I feel like it's that total Pisces Virgo axis of like the mundane with the magical. And both are so valid and so important. But yeah, just growing up very mystically inclined, having like unexplainable supernatural experiences, um, having like literally seeing mystical beings with my own physical eyes. Like I legit saw a fairy when I was 8 years old, and like so I
Oh
know
yeah.
those exist. Like, and it had a mermaid tail, so I'm like, oh okay, like nymph, cool. Um, so yeah, always being devoted to the mystery, the magic, the unknown. The older I get, I realize how important it is for me to embody that artist archetype, just because I feel like in my own past life, in this life, it was a lot more value was placed on like mental intellect and how much information I had and my ability to be a guide and a teacher and having my value be through that. But post Saturn return, we're on this whole different trajectory. And I mean, I have a bunch of all my Pisces planets live in my fifth house. So the creativity is strong, and I wasn't allowing myself to have that as an outlet. And now that I am, it is really helping me to embody my Pisces self now that I have like a creative outlet for all the feelings and things inside that I wasn't giving expression to before. The dreamer, absolutely. Like I said, like my internal fantasy dream life has always been very rich, very strong, vivid imagination. Always has been someone that's been able to like recollect my dreams, Sometimes I'll have like 10 dreams in one night and I can like go back and be like, yep, this one was this scene. And then we were here and then we were doing that. Um, and then even just like in my own fantasy land of what I wish life looked like, and using that as like an escapist or avoidance tendency, seeing what you want to see instead of what is actually there, and then feeling like let down or disappointed when life doesn't live up to the fantasy land in your mind. That's been a struggle throughout life.
Mhm.
Um, but also just the power of dreams and getting to a place in my life where I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is my vision board. Like I am living my dream life. And like, if this is possible, like, cool. What do I want the next chapter of life to look like? What are my new dreams and visions? Um, so yeah. And then even I want to hear your thoughts on dream walking because this was a fairly new term for me that I only became aware of in recent years. And it was so refreshing to see it described and written and being like, that is what I do. I didn't know it had a name, but yes, I have had many dream walking experiences.
Awesome. Yeah. To no surprise, actually, I once offered this as a service for people like in my early days of entrepreneurship. Um, but for me, Dreamwalker has like a multi-dimensional aspect to it. One, it is the ability to one be fully conscious in your dream state, not to the point of like lucid dreaming I take as being able to kind of manipulate the reality of your astral space, which I consider that part of dream walking, of being able to create your reality in the dream space. But there's also the aspect of letting the dream space show you things, but you have full cognition so that you can bring back that information to this realm. And then
Mhm.
the third part is being able to go into other people's spaces, their dream space, and walk into their dreams, see what they are dreaming about. And that's the service that I offered, was going into their dream space, watching their dreams, decoding it for them, and giving them that report. Actually,
Whoa.
Zuby and I did that. We offered it as a service together because we both can dream walk. Um, and yeah, I don't do that anymore though, but so yeah, those are like the three flavors of dream walking that I personally have experience with and that I associate with Pisces.
So interesting. Yeah, I'm not on that level. It's not something that I can control when and how I do it and where or what through people's dreams. It's mostly been my own dreams, but
Yeah, would you
yeah,
like
just
to
like
share some of your experiences of dream walking and how you describe it?
yeah. So I mean, it's like consciousness transport, right? And for so long, I was confusing it with either like astral projection or remote viewing for because it's like it's similar
Hmm.
to those in a
Yes,
way.
yes.
But there is a different quality to it. Um, I don't know that I've ever walked through other people's dreams. I think I've had like clairaudient abilities where I can like eavesdrop and overhear other people's conversations or situations that they're having in dream space, but that hasn't happened in a while. Um, but I have had they've come on spontaneously, and one of them happened. I mean, it was like it got me onto this Maui timeline. It was the morning that my cat ended up passing away, and I feel like with his last like burst of psychic life force energy, he like helped me get through this experience that I had where I don't even remember falling asleep. The last thing I remember, my bed was on a loft and I was looking over to make sure that he had jumped down from his cat tree. And then he just split off into seven different cats
Wow.
that were walking around my apartment. And I felt that like, oh my gosh, like, okay, his body is dying in this timeline, but we're together in other timelines. He's still alive. Like this isn't the only lifetime we're together in. And then my scene in my apartment started shifting. Meanwhile, I'm trying to take pictures with my phone of my seven cats and text them to my best friend, but I couldn't find her contact in my phone. And then I open up like my Instagram, but it's my Instagram, but it's not my Instagram in this timeline. It's my
Mm.
Instagram in another parallel reality.
Wow.
And I'm like looking through my photos and I'm basically experiencing The timeline, because as I said, I was born on Maui as a baby and then moved when I was 6 months old. But I always knew from the time I was a child that there's a version of me that didn't leave the island. And like I was born
Mhm.
on Maui and I grew up on Maui. And I've
Wow.
always just been like so curious about that other version of me that I've always felt connected with. But obviously, we went in two very different directions. But essentially, this dream was me experiencing that version of self and collapsing out that timeline. And yeah, I got to like see all these photos on my phone of like a life I lived on Maui and all these different people in my life and like me and my mom and me at the beach. And then anyway, I was in this house. My grandpa showed up. It was the first time he showed up in one of my dreams. He passed many years prior. And I was kind of freaking out because I was like, I was like lost in time. I'm like, how am I going to get back to my timeline? Like, where am I? Things are collapsing all around me. Um, and he basically like walked me around and was like explaining that he was like helping me like get on the right timeline. We walked down into a basement. Another guide was there who gave me these golden keys that I had to put in a device and turn.
Oh,
And then like I woke up and
awesome.
yeah, and then I was, and then my cat was, as I said, he was dying, and I
Oh,
felt so conflicted of like, do I just let nature take its course? Like, I don't want to play God, but like I know that he's in pain, and what do I do? And I felt called to pull a tarot card, and I was felt very connected to my grandpa and my ancestors and everything. So I asked them for guidance, and I literally pulled the death card, and so
mhm.
I knew that it was his time, and I had always said that, oh, I'll move back to Maui when Lou passes, and then he did that day. It was like, and
Wow.
I had that dream of connecting to my Maui self. And then I was like, all right, I guess I'm moving to Maui. So that was a
Wow.
pretty potent one.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. That, yeah, is wildly rich with information. Especially like those keys, those Chiron codes coming through for you. Oh,
In the
wow.
basement. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That is so, so beautiful. So dream walking for you is being able to like you can go into alternate timelines basically as a dream walker. That is really incredible. That is
Yeah.
really,
And it
really
felt very
incredible.
healing too. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry about your cat passing.
Oh, it's okay.
Uh,
He was one of my greatest teachers, and the way that he left and the gifts that he gave me, it all was the way that it was meant to.
hmm And like you said, always connected. Many
Yes.
other lives. That's also a very Piscean thing to be able to understand.
Yeah.
Um, and that also helps, there's the aspect of Pisces being a water sign and being connected to emotions and things like that. And being mutable water is Pisces can typically have a greater sense of acceptance, like accepting things as they are versus like, I mean, Scorpios, they have a hard time accepting anything, like coming from an old Scorpio before I had my most wonderful transformation to a Libra. It's just kind of like you're working through sort of the dankest, dirtiest waters that it's hard to accept and accept things as they are. And cancers, I have Cancer moon and Mars, so I'm speaking on myself too, is like, oh, the ever-changing emotions and um, there's a reason why it's the crab. It's like sometimes things make you crabby because of the way that things are.
Yeah.
Which I find like Pisces, they typically either just like accept it because they understand like the spiritual aspect of it, or they'll try to escape from it through like whatever form of escapism that they choose.
Yeah, totally.
hmm
And it's also just helped me like give I don't know, like a different perspective around death where I'm like, it's not the end. Like we will meet again or in some other form, in some other way. Like it's not final.
Yeah, I
I'm
totally,
excited.
yeah, uh-huh. I know. Yeah, I've always felt that way as well. I have a Pisces midheaven, so it's my only Pisces placement, but pretty strong one. I use my manifestation gate quite often. But even as, and maybe I also associate it with Pluto, of just like knowing that death is not the end. Like as a small child, it was just so obvious. Like, of course, like I just knew the first time, like that I remember thinking is like, this is not my first time here. Like I re distinctly
Yes.
remember having those thoughts as like a 2-year old.
Yeah.
But I was also, astrally projecting and things at a really young age. So I was already like kind of getting a feel for my skills. Um, but Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, obviously I have some water placements, but I do associate a lot of my gifts with my Pisces midheaven just because it is my manifestation gate. So the more I keep it open, the more, mystical that I am and things like that.
Yeah. Makes sense with the nature of the work you do too.
Definitely. Um, and in terms of being a medium, it's very interesting that you mentioned that your grandfather had come. I'm assuming your grandfather had passed, it
Yeah.
was already
Yeah.
passed.
Mhm.
Um, and Pisces, I find the dead find them all the time, whether it's in the dream space, astral space, or in waking life. The dead are, they're all around us anytime, whether you can tap into it or not,
Yeah.
that's on you.
Mhm.
But I find that a lot of very successful mediums are Pisces because they're so close to the other side that the dead can sense them and be like,
Mhm.
hey, tell this person I said this. And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I had some experiences as a
oh,
child like seeing the ghost of our dog that had recently passed that had like a real effect on me when I was like 6 or so and it freaked me out and I think I just kind of like shut off that ability. I was like I don't want to see, I don't want to know. Like you can come to me in dreams if it's like I know you, but yeah, I'm all set otherwise.
yeah, honestly, it can be very, yeah, frightening, just straight up frightening to
Yeah.
see dead people around. From my own experiences, I grew up in a haunted house as a young child until I was 3. And for me, it was normal because I didn't really know how to tell the difference between the dead and the alive. But my parents were freaked out, and that helped them like also be like, okay, this is real. It's like it's not some person trying to convince us that our ghosts are real. It's like it's our 3-year-old daughter talking to a dead person and that we're seeing, and she's giving us all the details about this person. And
Wow.
so yeah, it definitely, which I also I have done some mediumship work over the years. Um, but it is also something that I'm like, not now.
Yeah.
Later, like
There's too
it's
much chatter in the physical. I don't need to hear
yes,
people talking. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, what a
exactly.
gift and can definitely see how Pisces are inclined to that.
Yes, definitely. And illusionist, which I love that you mentioned again, the mirrors and the lenses and things like that, because I always take Pisces even as aside from actual magical qualities, they have the ability to do what people would consider like sleight of hand magic or,
Mhm.
illusionary things, kind of like David Blaine or card tricks and things like that.
Yes,
Um, and yeah, playing, it's kind of like a fun house. Like the mirrors and
totally.
the lenses. Yeah, I really, really love that. I never associated that with Pisces, but I'm so glad you said that because so many things clicked for me.
Yeah, I read
Um,
a chart of a Hollywood producer quite a few years ago, and he had one of the most interesting charts I've ever seen. He had this like crazy Leo stellium in the 12th house
mm,
with, I forget what his Neptune aspect was, but Neptune was strong in his chart. And I mean, his career is literally about like creating illusions and things that aren't real. And when I mentioned like dude, you're a magician, his like jaw dropped on the floor. He's like, I my whole childhood and teen years, like I used to do magic tricks and delusions and things like that. And I was like, I'm not surprised at all.
yeah, uh-huh.
It's
Yeah,
really cool how literal it can be.
I know. Yeah, that's one of the things I just love about astrology in general is like the data is so literal. And that's why
Yeah.
I get annoyed by the fluff of some astrology of like, oh, this means I don't know, just like all the
Yeah.
fluff. It's like, no, it can be so literal and so spot on and so
Yeah.
detailed that like fluff just is kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I feel you.
Um, and one other thing I wanted to mention about the multidimensional intermediary, like usually Aquarius, as the alien of the zodiac, is associated with being able to, connect with different, we'll say like star seed kind of stuff. But Pisces can as well to a greater degree. One, because they can actually astral travel there, and maybe that should have been another one is astral traveler. I would associate as the archetype of Pisces. But they can also connect to various other beings that are interdimensional aliens and things like that, and channel from different star systems and things of that nature. So Aquarius and Pisces kind of share that that energy. Aquarius is more like what's out there? Like the curiosity, whereas Pisces is like, okay, who's calling? Like, okay.
Yep. Who's gonna pick up the phone?
Oh, okay, sorry, my internet cut out. I'm not sure where it dropped, but
Oh, you're good.
okay. All right, so any more thoughts on the archetypes?
I feel like we covered them all.
Okay. All right, and some characteristics. We have psychic, imaginative, spiritual, dreamy, intuitive, ethereal, out of this world, deep, and empathic. So, what are
Mhm.
your thoughts on these?
Yeah. Um, I mean, psychic, yes. I feel like everyone on a level has the ability. It's just a matter of if you're willing to hone it and consciously develop it and work with it. But I mean, especially
True.
Pisces, I feel like it's going to be there regardless, and you're either going to be conscious of it or not. And I've definitely had to learn psychic defense
Yeah.
throughout my years. And I mean, even in experiencing like dark entities on the astral plane, and what do you do if you encounter something, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
shielding up. Yeah, that experience, it was quite a few years ago, but it was a big initiation, and I take my psychic hygiene and cleansing rituals and prayer very seriously after that experience. Where it's like I've got a crystal grid in every home that I've lived in, and I sleep with a selenite wand on my chest and like do protection prayers before bed to like prepare myself before I am going into the astral. So
Hmm.
yeah, learning psychic defense and how to clear your field has been a big part of my journey. And also, I mean, just the importance of water and like my water cleansing rituals, where I mean, ever since I was a kid, I just did this intuitively because I needed to. But pretty much anytime I go out into the world, even if it's just like to the grocery store, when I come back home, I need to rinse off in the shower. Like I'm not
Uh-huh.
so much a bath gal. I need moving water to just like um, clear and reset. But yeah, if it's a shower or a waterfall or a stream or the ocean, water's big in that way.
Yeah, that is awesome, which I'd like to touch upon something that I didn't mention on the Pisces symbol slide. So it has those two lines with it in between, and it can represent like two bodies with a connection in between, which does again go back into that like unity consciousness,
Mm,
but also the etheric and energetic fields and how different people can connect to you as well as entities and different things like that. So yes, like one of the biggest things for everyone to learn, but especially Pisces, since
yeah.
they're tapped in kind of even against their will sometimes, until you learn how to have it not be against your will, is protection and cleansing. Yes, that's so, so important.
Yes, it really is. Really is. It's been a game changer because now I just like feel so solid in my field, in my bubble, in my golden egg that I live in constantly, where I mean, learning boundaries is such a Pisces lesson. And it's not just, your physical boundaries, it's your energetic and spiritual boundaries. Um,
Absolutely, especially as immutable water. It's like water and water in general just love to mesh. And that's why I think, like emotional enmeshment and codependency are the biggest in water
in
signs
there.
because they just, oh, let's become one, kind of thing. And
The urge to merge is very natural. Yeah.
yes, it is. And that's why it is so important to have those boundaries, like you said, in like relationships and energetically, because especially as a Pisces, it's like everything wants to merge with you because you're mutable water.
Yes. And I mean, it's just like that compassion and the empathy and the ability to like shape shift and be chameleon-y and around other people. And everyone feels like they understand you. And so they just want to like dump all their stuff on you. Or,
Yes.
yeah, those enmeshment and codependent relationships have definitely been a thing. So, yeah, the boundaries is, I mean, I feel like one of the number one important lessons for Pisces to learn. Because without them, you can feel like a victim, just like
Yes.
completely at the whim of life and other people, and lost and confused and directionless. And that just makes you want to like latch onto someone and merge more.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. But I mean, it can also be beautiful, like this urge to merge. where I mean that's another reason why I just love like water, specifically like warm water environments, where it's like I remember what it's like to be formless and like not have a physical body. So if I can like drift off and lose myself in music or a body of water or yeah, things of that nature, it does bring kind of a sense of comfort, like a womb
Yeah.
environment. It just feels very, very familiar, very comforting, very safe. Um,
Yes, I
yeah.
have the same feeling and experiences, and I love going to like the float spa and going in the deprivation tank and just like just losing all physical sense. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And then, do you want to take any of these other ones, or you want me to go through them?
Yeah, you can go through them.
Okay. So we have imaginative, that is also a characteristic of Pisces. That kind of goes hand in hand with the dreamer aspect, just because they are an artist, right? So Neptune is also the planet that rules imagination, and that's why Pisces is so creative and out there, because they have this very keen ability to see things in their mind's eye, whether it's from another dimension or they're making it up themselves, right? It's like this constant channeling of information, and it's really the task of transmuting what you see within into something else, whether you are creating art or, fill in the blank, creating anything,
Mhm.
um, is very, very, that's a task that Pisces has to learn. And again, they're very imaginative because they're tuned into all of these, multi-dimensional layers and things of that nature. And I wanted to mention something else that you had talked about, which just came back to me about how, people love to emotionally dump on Pisces and things like that. Um, and I think it's important to, because of like Pisces energy, they say Pisces holds the codes of the entire rest of the zodiac.
Right.
And personally, I think a lot of that comes through Cetus, but it's like every single person can see a part of themselves in Pisces. And that's why they tend to attract so many people, and like
Mhm.
why they just want to, again, it's like the mirror thing. Like there's
Mhm.
always a mirror in Pisces, where they can, yeah, feel like, oh, I'm so comfortable because I see myself. And now here's like, here's all
Mhm.
this emotional, sewage.
Yeah.
Help
Yeah.
me.
Totally. And Pisces kind of like just buy into it because they're so sensitive to especially the
Yes,
suffering of other people. And oh,
yes.
I can put myself in your shoes and totally like shapeshift myself to like feel what it would be like to go through whatever the thing is that you're going through. And then, yeah, it can be very draining.
Yes, yes, it
Draining.
can.
For
Yes.
most of my life, I felt like a very low energy, sleepy, passive, fishy gal.
Hmm. And that's not surprising. And that's because, I mean, it's really a systemic issue that people are not taught energetic boundaries and energetic hygiene at a young age. I
Yeah.
almost said low level. I don't know why, but yeah, even at a low level or young age,
Yeah.
whatever it is, like,
Mhm.
um, it's so important. And even myself, like, getting attacked by, negative entities and different species and things like that, and just thinking like that. And I feel like a lot of people that happens to them, and then they associate all of the spiritual realm with like just those things, like those low
Right.
vibrational entities that are
Yeah.
attaching or attacking. When really it's like, no, you're only tuned into that because
Yeah.
you have like bad spiritual hygiene, and probably have bad hygiene on the regular too.
Yeah.
Probably eating junk and
Yeah.
engaging in a bunch of low vibrational behavior.
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
taking responsibility for a Pisces and really tapping into that earthy Capricorn energy, especially post Saturn return, um, has been a game changer. Yeah. Otherwise,
yes,
it's very easy to just slip into victim and like, oh my gosh, all this like bad, scary stuff is happening to me. It's like, no, you did something to bring that on. So how can
exactly.
you empower yourself to, yeah,
Yes,
up into a
definitely.
higher
Hmm.
vibration?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Pisces being spiritual, I feel like we definitely covered a lot of that because
Yeah.
it's just so
All spiritual.
psychically, yeah, keen and in tune. And dreamy again because they are just so tapped into other dimensions, other realms.
Mhm.
And dreamy, can also be a little bit of the shadow. I think it's good to have a dreamy aspect, but if you're always in that la la land,
Yeah.
that's when it can become pretty toxic. It's like you could constantly be in a dissociative state
Hmm.
or just have no real conception of what reality is. I mean,
Yeah.
reality, right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the physical plane is happening.
Mhm.
Um, and then obviously intuitive, that kind of goes into the psychic aspect. And even if a Pisces doesn't have their psychic gifts fully turned on or in tune or whatever, they're still so intuitive. They can just sort of feel and sense. And part of that is like being a mutable water sign, you're tuned into the ethers to the point of like you can just feel, you can walk into a room and if someone thinks you're hot or someone doesn't like you can feel that energy. Or even, having like a daydream in terms of dreaming of like going to the store and maybe you see a guy like drop his wallet and you're just daydreaming. And then you go to the store and it happens and you're like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, those are your gifts.
Mhm. Totally. And I feel like too, like at least for me and my experience, really creating the space and the stillness to be able to, and like shutting out all the noise, and giving myself space and stillness to actually listen to what my own intuitive hits or pings or whispers sound and feel like. So it's like listening to it, step one, but also then like trusting it and trusting yourself and trusting the benevolence of life, that it's never going to steer you wrong when you follow your intuition has been a big thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important. And that's another thing is like building trust with yourself, with your intuitive gifts and being able to like validate yourself and not need external validation for these various gifts that you have
Mhm.
is so important to the intuitive and the psychic aspect of Pisces and the spiritual too.
Mhm.
And then we also have that Pisces is very ethereal and out of this world. And when someone has a lot of Pisces energy, you can usually feel it. Like there is a different kind of aura around them because they are so in tune. And you can literally like look at them and feel them and be like, whoa, um, like when you're around them, you feel like a dimensional shift.
Mhm.
Like it really is a whole different kind of world. And usually people will be very intrigued, like, oh, this person's energy is like so different, like what it is about them. And it's like they're in their own etheric soup, basically, of their aura, um, which I find really, really lovely about Pisces. And then we also have that Pisces is very deep. So obviously it is endless. Pisces is endless. It holds the infinity codes. It holds the unity. We are all one consciousness. So there are some very, very deep and existential energies that are within Pisces. And typically, if a Pisces isn't dissociated or drunk or high or something, or even when they're drunk or high, maybe they get deep. But if they're in their body and they are willing to communicate, they can get very, very deep on any topic,
Mhm.
whether it's like their own personal life story or whether it's a theory that they know a lot about or pick a topic. Pisces can usually go pretty, pretty deep into it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of depth there. Just a constant swimming in the deepest parts of the cosmic sea, um, which I mean can has been challenging in different parts of my life. Like I'm definitely not a surface level gal. I mean, that's why I love Scorpios because I'm like, yep, let's go deep. Or people with a lot of
Uh-huh.
eight house placements. Um, yeah, I just want to go down. I want to see it all. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, I definitely find the same. And when I was a tropical Scorpio, I
Mm.
attracted so many Pisces. And again, there was that like merging of the souls type energy. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, the depth of relationships that I had with Pisces was really mind-bending, platonic and romantic, like mind-bending, spirit-bending. Like it was really just so, so beautiful. And I think of all the zodiacs, the deep divers are the Scorpios and and the Pisces
I
because
would
they
agree.
yeah, they can go into the waters that have such a pressure that everyone else would just crumble.
literally and metaphorically, like part of moving back here, and I mean what led me back here was free diving. And you better believe the moment I landed back on this island, I signed up for free diving courses. And I mean, I kind of have equalization issues, so I can't go down as deep as I would like right now, but the feeling of being like 45 feet down below the surface, and the timelessness, and the like, you don't actually need to breathe, and like the whole key to free diving is like relaxation of your body, and like you literally feel like you become one with the water. And yeah, I'm only at the I've only dipped a toe with how deep I do want to go, but I'm very excited to continue exploring the literal depths, because you get to this point at a certain depth, I forget what it is, where you just free fall, and the ocean kind of has this like very gentle like pulling down effect, and I'm like, I want to go swim down there. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that is really, really beautiful. And, obviously something that needs to be eased into because it's the physical restraints of the body that are really the determining factor. It's like the Saturn,
Mhm.
the Saturn
Mhm.
level
The
stuff that always
limits.
comes into play. But that is
Fears
so,
can
so
only go so deep.
beautiful. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I can
And
only imagine, like, as I go deeper, deeper down into the depths of the actual waters, it's like it's mirroring what's going on internally and energetically and spiritually. So I'm excited to unlock those deeper layers sometime.
yeah, that is really, really beautiful. And the last one is empathic. And I feel like this definitely ties into a little bit of the psychic and intuitive aspect. Empathic is more being able to tune into other people's emotions rather than just general psychic information, like being
Mhm.
psychic and intuitive is. Um, but I feel like it's one of the most beautiful qualities of Pisces is really being able to emotionally connect with people and have that empathy for someone of what they're going through. It's like people can explain their situations to Pisces and they are so, encompassing the rest of the zodiac and things like that, and just the totality of the human experience and beyond human, just experience, that they can really feel what other people are feeling.
Mhm.
They can have the emotional experience that is being expressed by someone else, and it really, really makes them really great friends and really great like therapists and psychologists and all that. Of course, as long as there can be emotional boundaries. And that's another important reason why Pisces needs emotional boundaries because they are so empathic that sometimes it's hard for people with Pisces placements to distinguish their own emotions from someone else's emotions or the emotions of the collective if the collective is going through something. There's a lot of internalizing that can happen if one isn't careful.
Mhm.
And then the last thing on the slide is the shadow aspect of Pisces, which, as beautiful and deep as Pisces can be, the shadow can be quite
Mhm.
voidy, all-encompassing, I'll say. So you have the shadow being space cadet, escapist, addict, no boundaries, victim or martyr complex, overly delusional. And I put overly there because I think having a healthy sense of delusion is absolutely necessary. And I know that's really gone widespread in the collective recently,
It
is like,
really has. It's like cool to
yeah,
be Delulu. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, you
I'm
do have
fully
to
on
be
board. I'm so
Delulu.
delusional and I accept
Yes.
that about myself now.
Yes. And the thing is, the most delusion, maybe not the most, but people who have a very healthy dose of delusion in their life
Mm. Mhm.
are the ones that are living their dream lives. They are
Yes.
manifesting the reality that they want. So,
Yeah.
the proof is in the pudding, as I say. It's like the proof is how they are living. And I
It's
feel like
so true.
some people can get like angry at the level of other people's delusion, but it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, why don't
Why are
you
you so
direct that energy at
triggered?
yourself? Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's like, why don't you try to craft a dream for yourself? I saw a post
Exactly.
the other day. I just sent it to my best friend, where it's like, it's only delusional until it's true. It's like, so true.
Exactly. Yes, it
A lot of
is.
my delusions have come true. So I'm like, sweet, I know
Uh-huh.
it's possible.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that reminds me of actually something that was like on SNL this past weekend on Weekend Update. I forget what his name is. It's like one of the new guys. He's from Egypt, but he was doing like a little spin on Weekend Update and he was talking like, yeah, so many people are saying, oh, we shouldn't have billionaires, da da da. He's like, but I'm meeting people who are saying we shouldn't even have millionaires. And he's like, have a dream, could you? Like, please have a dream. And can you believe in yourself for like 1 second? Like
Uh-huh.
what? It's like the notion that everyone has to be in poverty or something is like absolutely ridiculous.
Not
Um,
even.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, believe in yourself. Have a little bit of delusion. Like what you think you can't make $1 million? Come on. Like anyone can make $1 million, especially now. Like
Yes.
you could ask AI to do it for you even if you
Seriously.
So anyway, that kind of like brought to mind the same thing. But yeah, it's so true. Like it is only a delusion until it's true. And then when people see the material aspect of it, then they're like, "Oh, well, how'd you do that?" And it's like,
I had a dream.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the last shadow of Pisces being sick. So that whole dis-ease energy.
Mhm.
Would you like to go through these and share your experience with
Yeah.
the shadows?
I don't know about space cadet. I mean, sure, on a level. Um, I mean, I feel like if anything for me, it's not so much space cadet as it is like just like overwhelm that I experience sometimes or have, whether it's like too much information or too many places that I'm spreading my energy too thin or too many people that I have like hooked into my energy, that can just make life feel kind of like too much. The escapist tendencies, oh yeah, oh yeah, I know that so well. From a very early age, it was like, well, because I was mature for my age and I didn't
Mhm.
need babysitters or anything. So my parents just sat me right in front of the TV and I learned like, oh, when you're like feeling sad or feeling anxious, like just go in front of the TV and everything, you'll feel better. So I definitely learned how to escape through screens at an early age or self-soothe with food or, later on, like luckily I literally cannot drink alcohol. I'm allergic, but
Oh,
cannabis
wow.
dependency has been real. I'm like, oh yeah, this is my
Mhm.
natural state, just being high. I love it here. Um, so yeah, I know that very well. Hence why the grounding is so important and all of that. The no boundaries, I feel like I've spoken to, that's definitely been a thing. Experienced lots of enmeshment and codependency, and just like only now in this season of life, especially post Saturn return, I'm learning. I mean, because in order to have boundaries, you need to like kind of have a sense of self and like who you are, what you need, and what you feel, independent of other people. So I also feel like that Pisces tendency to withdraw and like isolate into solitude has, I mean, it's a spectrum. It can definitely be overdone, but that helps me a lot when it's like I just need to be in my own energy, uh, and in my own space to kind of know how I feel about things, and then from there put up boundaries. Um,
That is such a good point. And I think it is a huge, huge lesson for Pisces to learn, like, who am I?
yeah,
Of course, it's the I am Godhead energy, and
yeah,
it's kind of like that's Pisces' base point is understanding, yes, I am, period.
yeah,
And, I'm all these things, but who am I as an individual? And I think that goes into, the whole empathic and no boundaries part too, because it's really hard to distinguish who you are when you're constantly enmeshed with other people and other people are constantly just pouring their toxic juice all over you, and it's like your lymphatic system can't drain it all kind of thing. Um,
100%.
yeah, it's very, very intense.
Yeah, yeah. Hence why I love astrology and why I'm so grateful that I found it at such an early age because it has been the closest thing that I have found in life that helps me answer that question of like, who am I? Um, yeah, super important. And then like the victim consciousness, big time, just feeling like I said, like at the whim of life, that life is happening to you, not for you, that you're so out of control and helpless, hopeless, can definitely stew in that suffering. And you even said the word like it can feel all encompassing. And that is definitely been my experience where when I get sucked down into those lower spirals, I'm like, oh, it's just always going to be this way, even though it's not. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, is that it's like the emotional experiences, because nothing really has a beginning or an end, it can feel like this is it, like this is just how life is, or
Uh-huh.
I'm always gonna feel this way. That's a story I find a lot of Pisces believing to be true.
Yeah.
Is like that I'm always gonna be this way, or I'm always gonna
Yes.
feel this way. And it makes sense to an extent because when I read charts, even Neptune and Neptune transits can be associated with various sort of background emotions, where the moon is the emotions that we're feeling on a day-to-day basis, or going through various emotional energy, whereas Neptune is the background emotion of like of a certain period of time in your life. So if you have, Neptune transiting a certain like area of the sky for you, it could be like, yeah, that was my melancholy years, like when Neptune was in these like 2, 3 degrees, whereas when it was here, like this is when all the riches started coming in, and I had
Oh,
like an overflow of joy sort of thing.
hmm.
Um, so I definitely feel sort of those like it's almost like a malaise, like emotional malaise kind of feel of like it's
Yeah.
everywhere and in the background, even though maybe you're not consciously experiencing it super actively in the
Mhm.
emotional body, but yeah,
Oh, that's so validating to hear. Yeah, especially because, like I said, Neptune's going right over my Mercury right now. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be like a sad, melancholy, lonely girl forever. But it's not that
don't
way.
worry, you won't be.
This too shall pass.
Yes, everything does. And as they say, and this is like one of my favorite Scorpio things, is the only constant is change.
Very true.
So things will always transform, and most likely for the better. Even if it goes a little bit down south for a while, it's ultimately just to recalibrate you.
Absolutely.
Um, so sending you lots of happiness and joy and love in
Thank
regards to
you.
that.
So
And
good.
I really liked also about your views on escapism and how TV screen time was the one that was most prominent in your early life. And I think, when people think escapism, some people maybe think like, oh, okay, just like physically ghosting, abandonment, or whatever, or even, alcohol and drugs are probably the most famous and
Mhm,
most common.
mhm.
Same with addict, but exactly like you said, TV time, um, food, these are all addictive, escapist types
Shopping.
of, yeah, shopping for sure. Yeah. Or even like being addicted to like chaos drama, like or other people's energy to the point where you feel like you can never be alone in your own thoughts
Mhm.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are also pretty big. And in terms of Space Cadet, for me, Space Cadet is someone who's always like dissociated, kind of. So
Mhm.
that's how I like describe them, where they're just in the other dimensions and they're
Yeah.
not really in their body at all.
Roadie.
So that's what I meant by Space Cadet. I'm glad that you don't associate yourself with
Yeah.
that. Uh,
Feel a little more grounded, but I
that's
can
the
see
really
it.
good. Yeah, it's
That
those
could
feet
be.
you got. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep the feet on the ground. Be where your feet
Yeah.
are.
And the victim martyr complex, it is very, very prominent in Pisces energy, which can also have like savior complex as well, which is
Mhm.
shared in the Virgo Pisces axis. Although
Mhm.
usually Virgo is the one, let me fix you, let me save you, has that savior sort of thing, whereas Pisces is like, let me harm myself so
Mhm.
that you don't have to,
Totally.
or let me it's almost, and it's a power thing almost. And it's kind
Sure.
of two ends of the spectrum, because if it's the victim, it's like you have power over me to make me a victim kind of thing. And if it's a
Yes.
martyr thing, it's like I have power over you where I'm
Hmm.
like doing things for the greater good, but at the expense of myself sort of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and that's a huge, falsity in spirituality again in general, is like you do not have to die for any cause. That is an anti-life program. It's like you cannot progress the cause by not being here to do it. Like
Yeah.
you're just what gonna like tap out and recycle yourself where you forget a bunch of stuff. Like, come on. It doesn't
So
make sense.
true.
It's really just not efficient.
No, no.
We need some Capricorns up in here being like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not giving into that anti-life path.
Exactly. And then there is also the aspect of over delusional, which is just like, yeah, just being, this can, manifest as like being in a cult or
Hmm.
things like this, of just being so out of touch with, again, reality. I really don't like using that word, but just out of touch with like what is going on in the physicality, or what could be good for your greatest alignment, to the point where other people's illusions have really captured your sense of delusion to the point where you're losing your sense of self or you're caught in someone's web or trap.
Hmm. Yeah. I also feel like in terms of delusional, um, for anyone that has like Venus and Pisces or Neptune connecting Venus in their chart, it can definitely show up in the selection of like romantic partnerships too,
Mm.
where it's like you see someone with rose-colored glasses on and you like can like see their magic or their potential of like what they could be instead of like what is actually in front of you. And I feel like Pisces can very easily just like put up with bad behavior or things that are like not okay, because of that delusion and those that lens.
That is such a good point because Pisces does hold the codes of unconditional love as well.
Mhm.
And so that is a very intense energy to be able to embody and channel. And I'm a big believer that unconditional love is something the divine gifts us that we're supposed to give to ourselves. And it's really not something that we're necessarily supposed to share with another human being, with slight exceptions of children, like parent-child relationships, but even those have boundaries. You
Yeah.
know, that's how you raise a child is by teaching them proper boundaries. So, the term unconditional love is really, I think, misused in general. But yeah, the ability for a Pisces to see someone's higher self, and it usually is because they're tapped into that person's higher self of who they
Yeah.
could be, their potential, exactly what you said,
Mhm.
and then treating them on the material level of that person that they're actually not yet,
Yeah.
or maybe never even will become.
Yeah.
I've also been there in love relationships as well. I attribute that a lot to like delusions of water signs in general, but
Mhm.
Pisces definitely has it.
Yeah. We love our
Uh,
rose-colored glasses.
mhm. And it's good to be able to see things through those lenses, but it is important to, yeah, be able to take them off and really, uh, see someone or something for who they truly are.
Yeah, I feel like idealism or being idealistic is also like a
Yes,
main Pisces characteristic that I mean could fall into like the high and or low spectrum as well. Um,
I like that. I'm gonna add
yeah,
that.
my therapist even pointed out to me recently, he was like idealism is a shelter, or like, going into the fantasy as the escapism is a can be um a shelter of like seeing it in the way that you want it to be, but not how it actually is in reality. And it just feels better to play in that dreamland. But yeah,
It's
anyway,
true, and honest,
idealism.
it's yeah, and I feel like having that shelter as a safe haven is important. We should all have that, but
Hmm.
you can't live there.
Right.
Like I think that's the biggest thing for Pisces is
Stuck there. Hmm.
yes. It's like, and that's also, it's like if you're stuck anywhere, you're not going with the flow. And
Yeah.
so that is usually a good indication for Pisces in general. Is like if you feel stuck in any way, it's definitely not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Feel that.
Mhm. And then the last one is sick. So again, we have the Pisces ruling over the lymphatic system. So obviously the lymphatic system is basically the immune system before the immune system. It helps prevent, it's a preventative immune system that keeps things out of your body, detoxes your body so that you don't have any disease. And I am a big believer that all diseases have some sort of emotional root of trauma stuck in the body in some sort of way, some energetic root. And so when things are super out of alignment for Pisces, they can really get sick, including like chronic pain, chronic illness, anything like that.
Mhm.
And a lot of that ties into this victim mentality. I've known a lot of Pisces that just love to have something wrong with them as an excuse of why they can't do this and why life is doing this to them. And it's used as a coping mechanism so that they don't have to take their responsibility to be who they truly are and do what they know that they're here to do.
Yeah.
And, we just had this full moon in Virgo, um, which was placing, for anyone who has a daily planner, then you know all about it. A lot of it is releasing these programs that think that we are doomed or destined to be disabled or diseased in any way. Like we know now on a cellular fact that that is absolutely not true. Our body is regenerating itself all the time. The body you have now is not the body you had 10 years ago. It just simply isn't, not single one cell. So it's like because our body is constantly going through these shifts, there is a way to make sure that you're changing the signals that your mind, brain, energy is sending to your physical body in order to embody good health. And that also includes mental health, which there can be a lot of things to support that. But a lot of these disease states comes through Pisces. And part of that is, Neptune rules altered states of consciousness. And that kind of ties into the addiction and escapist energy of Pisces. But sleep is also an altered state of consciousness. Disease is an altered state of consciousness. When you're sick, you're in a different state of consciousness. You're usually achy and like, and kind of in between, like a little bit out of your body, but not. So yeah, a lot of like Neptune-y stuff through disease and sickness can come through. And again, because it's Neptune level, it's things that are out of spiritual alignment. Everything physical is always a manifestation of the energetic, the spiritual, and the emotional.
Makes sense.
Alrighty. Are you ready to move on to the stars?
Ready.
Okie dokie. So Pisces is huge, as we have mentioned. So there are a lot of stars. I will just briefly discuss some of these stars because there are quite a few. And then I'm going to show them in the Sky app. And Amber, after I describe them, I'm wondering, can I make this smaller? Okay. Let's see. Okay, well, I think that's not for now. Are you able to read them?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
that is a lot of stars.
It really is. And honestly, it's because it's so big, but
I think
also
you added more than the initial
I
slide.
did, yeah.
I
So
love it.
I originally sent Amber the slides for the show. And thankfully she caught a typo that I had. Um, and I told her, I just want to do a handful of stars, maybe some that are activated or aligned in your chart, and then,
Cool.
a couple other ones. Because I was like, I don't want to, do like all this stuff and da 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 da. But then I ended up adding more and doing them all. So that's kind of how I am. I really, when I do things, I like to give it my all. And I think this information is just so important because like no one
Yeah.
talks about this stuff, and the information is so valuable and so far and few between when it comes to even true sky astrology people. They still only
Mhm.
focus on signs and houses maybe, and placements, but not specific stars, which is the level of detail that one can derive from it is really, really
Yeah.
incredible.
It's incredible. I mean, throughout my astrological studies, which again, I've been doing since I was 7 years old, this is why I love this podcast and your work so much because, yeah, there's nowhere else you can get this information. And I mean, there are so many like planets and asteroids and stars to learn that my mind just kind of explodes. But yeah, this is amazing that this is here and it's an incredible resource. So
Hmm.
go for it, Sachi. I can't wait to hear about all these stars.
Yes, which I do want to mention something for people and their own chart and when they're doing their own analysis. So there are two different ways that a star can be impacted in your specific chart. One is an activation. An activation would be when a planet or celestial body is visibly near or occulting a specific star. So for example, Jupiter could be considered activating these stars, or even Alrisha and Kalat Nunu because it is so close. And a lot of it is up to your personal perception. For me, I would say it's activating these two stars only. But it depends on how much of an orb, basically, or a diameter that you want to give it to, or radius, I should say.
Mhm.
And then there's also the alignments. So this is where the non-zodiacal information comes from, because an alignment is a line drawn from the ecliptic. So we'll use Jupiter as the example here, right here. If it's here, all the way to the pole star. So that line, and then that line would be there. And then you can see if there's any stars that are on that line in perpendicular from our pole star to the ecliptic, and the ecliptic is the sun's path. So those are the two ways that you get data. And even some activations can be zodiacal. Like, for example, the moon is often in Cetus, Venus goes through Scutum, Mercury goes through sextans and things like that. So just wanted to give that little bit of information if anyone wants to, use a sky app for yourself. That's really good for activations, alignments. If you want, you can order a chart at sachitheseer.com for those, or you can get software that does that. Okay, so first we're going to start with Alpha Pisceum, which is Alrisha. And this is one of the stars that mirrors come through. It's actually associated with the back part of the mirror, like tin alloys. That is the reflective part of the mirror behind the glass. So this is a star that is associated with that. And this is a star that helps people orient themselves in time and space. So it is an internal position star. So basically, in the endless void of Pisces, where you are in the time continuum and space. So it's really good for timeline jumping, but it's more like helping you land rather than on the way out, if that makes sense. And also through Alrisha, this is where superstring dynamics come from. So superstring theory, but rather than the whole net, this is from one to the next. So it's kind of like, if a butterfly flaps its wings, a volcano goes off or whatever. It's basically the intermediary data points of the first butterfly wings to whatever happens next. It's that from point A to point B and that smaller segment in the larger net. So one could say it's like basically the microcosm of the larger, the smaller fractal of the larger fractal nature of the superstring. And Alrisha is also associated with various natural remedies, which when I was getting that information, I was actually rather surprised. But, Pisces are also very much healers and things like that, usually using more of their psychic senses. But this star specifically is more of the herbalism and having that knowledge of how to communicate with different plants and yeah, plant. I almost said animal spirits, but maybe because I am also a big believer that some animals can be medicine as well. But plant and animal remedies in order to cure what ails you. And yeah, if you have any thoughts on any of these, please jump in anytime. Then we have Beta Pisceum. So this is Fum El Samaka, if I'm saying that correctly. This star is very, very spiritual and intuitive. It is really known for a lot of different psychic abilities and is really great for channeling. This star is associated with having like very open channels, being able to basically tap into anything. The low vibe of this star is alcoholism, addiction, like very, very, even though they're all kind of watery stars, this one is very, very watery. It's also very closely associated um, with Fomalhaut in Pisces Australis. So, which is the, royal fixed star of Aquarius, even though it's not actually in Aquarius. So they're very kind of similar. Well, I don't want to say they're similar. They have an energetic connection. And a lot of it is that the water is being poured into this fish. And that is a very similar energy of this, of like having a lot of water pouring out. So, one could say of like they're always filling their cup up with, alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. But they're also very good, well, natives of this. This star is associated with being able to speak very emotionally and being able to evoke emotions out of others when they are speaking. And then we have, oh, nope, not that one. Omicron. Oh, there it is. Okay. Omicron Pisceum. So for me, Jupiter would be activating Omicron Pisceum in this example. And so it's known as tocular. So this star is connected to brain anatomy, and it's associated with how the brain is receiving like spiritual and etheric information. So it's connected to the crown chakra and how the third eye processes things from whatever is coming into the crown chakra. So it's basically the energetics of the antenna system and how that information is perceived, stored, rearranged by the brain. And then we have Omega Pisceum, also known as, I might butcher this, Zeneb L Samkat. So this star is associated with spiritual ascension, particularly the yang energy polarity of it. I'm still searching for the yin star that is associated with the ascension process. But this star is also associated with getting divine downloads, sort of like those aha moments. It's also very connected to Aquarius in terms of like getting like the imagery is a lightning bolt coming and giving you sort of like serendipity information. And then next we have Sima, which is Gamma Pisceum. And so this is associated with the numerical system that allows for universal creation, coding, and all that sort of stuff. So usually when alignments or activations happen here, you can like natives are numerologists. When we have alignments or activations in the celestial sea in real time, usually a lot of like numeric codes, angel numbers, sort of things can come through here. And it is associated particularly with the number 9, but oftentimes when there's alignments and activations, there's a lot of like 111 codes, which are very common for like knowing that you're aligned or that you're getting realigned. And then we have Kulit Nunu, which yeah is over here. And so Kalat Nunu is associated with the emotional energy that you output and how that attracts and materializes things or people that resonate with the emotional energy that you're giving off. So even that I could say maybe mirror energy comes through here. I didn't get that when I was channeling for the star, but it's more like it's your aura basically of the it's not it's the emotional energy that feeds into your aura and how that attracts emotional experiences that resonate at the same frequency of your emotions to like emotionally validate what you're going through. So an example of the low vibe would be like, victim mentality, and then of course people coming in and making you a victim. Or even, a more higher vibration is like, I am super psychic and amazing, and then you're attracting people who are like, I need a psychic, be my psychic, sort of thing. So it can really, obviously come through multi dimensions as most most Pisces stuff is. And interestingly enough, this is also a star that holds fate. So things that are
Mm.
fated to happen come through Kalat Nunu. There's a lot of very subconscious and unconscious energy here, a lot of mystery and hidden information. There's like so many layers. I only lightly tapped into a couple, but it is one of the deepest Pisces stars that I found.
My son is near here. Cool.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Very interesting. I
Do you
feel
want to
that.
share some of your experiences with any of that
I mean, I feel like in
info?
typical Pisces fashion, I feel like I'm gonna need to like reflect and contemplate about it
Okay,
for at
yeah,
least
uh-huh.
3 days. But yes, with like the emotional aura and like the drawing in of people, events, or situations that mirror the way that you're feeling. I can't think of like a specific example right now, but yeah, I feel like that's definitely happened a lot throughout my life, and the fate aspect. Always been a very fascinated with fate, and only recently like came across like the philosophical term like amor fati. This Jungian Life has a really great podcast episode on it of just like loving one's fate. And Yeah, I'm gonna have to just keep reflecting on that, but I love knowing that it's like a super, super deep star. I feel that having my son there. So interesting.
Yeah, that's beautiful because your solar self, the light that you share with the world is very much connected to that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if like when people are around you, their fate is uncovered. It's like your light helps bring out their fate.
Mhm. Or I felt like even when I was giving astrological readings, that was like the main, I really focused on the nodes and it's like, where are you coming from? Where are you going? Like that to me, that was like one of the most important central themes of the chart and just like helping people get aligned on that North Star. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
which is it's interesting because fate is something that you can't change, as they say.
Yeah.
Destiny you can change. Destiny is something that you can change. Karma is something that you can influence.
Yeah.
But fate you can't. And so I've always found that as a concept to be very, very interesting. That some things sort of are out of our control, even though
Uh,
we're all one. So like, but
yeah,
we set
right. It's
ourselves
like we
up.
have the free will, but it's like some
Yes.
things are just fated.
Yes.
Ooh,
Uh-huh.
cool.
And next we have Lintium, also known as Delta Pisceum. And so the hive mind collective energy can come through here. So how different soul groups we'll call them. My gosh. Okay, my I just pulled my earphones out. Yeah, so how different soul groups have the same, we can say, experiences, downloads, however you want to describe how different soul groups go through different things. That energy usually comes through here. And then just hive mind programs in general. This star, there is some hijacking of this star of hive mind control on this planet right now. But we are obviously working on liberating that.
Obviously.
And then also ant spirit consciousness comes
Mm.
through this star as well. And then it is also associated with sleep and dream. So a lot of the dream realm stuff can come through here as well and can also be associated with various messages that various groups receive through dreams too. Anytime this is in like someone's chart activated, I'm like, it is so important for you to have a really nice bed, a really nice pillow. Like you need to invest in the highest quality possible things for your sleep state because this is like one of the most sleepiest, dreamiest of the um of the Pisces stars. And then next we have Epsilon Pisceum, also known as Cot. So I wonder if there's any cat stuff that comes through here. But this star is associated with the intuitive body. So the intuition stuff comes through the star, and it also hosts the codes of reincarnation and ineffable concepts. So things like infinity come through this specific star. And then for our non-zodiacal, also quite the list. So first we have Marcab um, in Pegasus. So Marcab is associated with overcoming obstacles in general. It helps you get to a higher perspective. And it's like when you run into an obstacle, instead of like, how am I going to do this? It's like, let me just elevate and go over. That's the energy that I get from Marcab. It's very much a star that helps put you in the driver's seat. It's like, okay, I'm in control mode to an extent because there are, like with all Pegasus stars, they all anchor codes of timelines to solidify divine will. So
Mm.
that can kind of be considered fate. I definitely consider them different. But there are, even though divine will always does respect free will, but there are times that free will must coincide with divine will. And that's what Pegasus constellation does. So yes, you're in the driver's seat, but sometimes divine will ensure that you're driving in the right direction, sort of thing. um, and this is one of the liberation stars of Pegasus. So it has been fully liberated after the Pegasus constellation being hijacked. It is currently the holder of the pink lilac sun. So if anyone has this placement and identifies as a pink lilac sun, that would be awesome. Or if you're a holder of that, on the low vibe, this star can be associated with like various disfigurement and things like getting physically ruined in some sort of way, whether it's the body or something else. But it is very helpful for people who purposely disfigure things, things like being a sculptor or a craftsman or things like that. It's a very helpful star for purposefully gouging and disfiguring something. Um, we have Zeta 1. Yep. All right, so we have Zeta 1 Reticulum. So this is a very interesting star. So this is one of the ones that I was talking about earlier. So this star is associated with lenses. So even though it's not in Pisces, it still is part of the alignment in Pisces. So this can be where some of that tomfoolery can come from. But this star in general helps bring things into focus and also assists with measurements and aim in whatever endeavor that you are going towards. It can materialize as like actual lenses, glasses, microscopes, other scientific instruments. It's very favorable for any sort of scientific endeavor or even government contracts. Um, this is the home star to one of the gray species, gray twos, which actually just went through a huge, you have the April Daily Planner, then you know all about it. Grays get a bad reputation, and rightfully so. They are the ones that experiment on humanity. They don't have an emotional body, and they are known for drinking humans' blood and all these sorts of things, feeding off of human secretions. However, gray twos that are from Zeta 1 Reticulum, they evolved to not have to feed off of humans. So they are in their own they're a self-sustaining life form, and they have just had an emotional body upgrade as a species where their heart chakra is open. And it's like gray one energy is now like, oh, well, if it's possible for them, it's possible for us. So I think in general of shutting down vampiric and siphoning systems, that's a really good tone that has been set. You know, I'm not really into a lot of alien stuff, but I get a lot of information when I go to these stars that I just feel like I have to share it, but it's from an impartial thing. I can say like I really don't care about any alien stuff. But I will obviously share it when it when it comes
Yeah.
through.
It's a refreshing perspective too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Especially, I
Um,
mean, specifically regarding the Greys. And I'm totally with you. I went through like my whole alien obsession, and now I'm just like, I don't care. But
yeah.
that's interesting
Yeah, I
and good
grew
to
up
know for humanity.
yeah, I grew up in an ancient alien household. So my mom
Same.
introduced me to that like very,
Yep.
very early. So I always knew about it, but
Yeah.
you know, it's like after you learn that there's more than just the Anunnaki, it's like, oh shit, there's like whole other species and they all have their own issues. And like I'm just trying to do me on this planet and this. And
Yes.
like
Yes.
unless they're directly interfering with my mission and what I want to do, I really don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. But
I'm with
you know,
you.
I really just don't care. But as I'm doing my work and like channeling this sort of stuff, when it's coming through, I'm like, okay, clearly other people need to know this.
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe that's why it comes so freely is because I'm not like, oh, tell me what's happening with the Arcturians or something, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not my flavor
Uh-huh.
of
Uh-huh.
it's not my area, but the information does come to me very freely. Maybe it's part of my Gemini rising stuff of just I just love information.
Yeah,
I really do.
yeah,
Um but the low vibe that can come through Zeta 1 Reticulum is like sneaky consent methods
yeah.
of like improperly tricking people into consent. So revelation of the method things can come through here. Although again, this star is healing, so that's good. But the low vibe can still sometimes come through, and even um, signing things on behalf of others. So, you know, a very common thing with the Greys in general was that the government allowed the U.S. government allowed the Greys to experiment on U.S people. And it's because the US government could sign on their behalf and say that those people are consenting through the social security number system.
Mm.
So basically, because you're given that social security number, which is an entity, it's not you, you are not your social security number. The government makes an entity, a dead entity with your name, and then they can sign contracts on your behalf because they are the creator of that entity that bears your name. And so they've used that as a way to get, masses of people to consent to something because they're signing on your behalf, basically. So it's really good to declare that nullified and also make sure that you're distinguishing you as a person separate from the
Mhm.
entity created by the state.
Mhm.
Um, and alignments at Zeta 1 reticulum can bring that information. And that's something that I was learning during alignments here as well. So that was a pretty intense ride for me. All right. Then we have sheet, holy sheet, as we used to say. Although not really so holy. I mean, it is holy because, again, a lot of the Pegasus stuff is associated with divine will, specifically triumphing over what the perceived evil may be. And sheet is another one of these things. It really helps with movement forward in general, but especially to ensure that free will coincides with divine will. And a lot of that is ensuring that all battles are won in accordance to divine will until all war-based timelines can be completely collapsed. There's this notion of like, of course, everyone should be anti-war all the time. There's no doubt about that. It's just so stupid and childish, honestly, of not being able to like communicate and figure things out. But because it is part of the reality now, certain things have to happen in order for war to no longer be part of, and Pegasus constellation is part of ensuring that those events happen in accordance to divine will so that war is never a reality here again. But does that include things that are happening through war and battle? Yes, that's what's happening. Look around. So yeah, the energies that come through Pegasus are really, really complex, especially in terms of war. Kind of uncomfortable channeling it sometimes, but she is one of the stars that is associated with the founder throne room. So it helps with the founder rays and then also helps protect the 1111 gateways. Definitely has some dank, low vibe energy. It can be very torturous to the mind. Like schizophrenic type of stuff comes through here, which I don't even like using that word because it's so misconstrued. It's like these people are not going insane. They are so in tune with multidimensional reality and don't know how to protect themselves, cleanse, have energetic boundaries that it manifests as some sort of mental perturbation, illness or whatever. But most of those people are completely normal. They just don't know how to properly codify their channels. But yeah, that kind of energy comes through sheet, and even like murder and suicide can come through sheet. And a lot of it is infiltration of other entities saying, go kill or kill yourself sort of thing. I don't even like speaking those words, but the information must get out. So yeah, you got to be really careful during sheet alignments too. If you're ever getting messages of like harm someone or harm yourself, like just know that that is some nasty stuff coming through sheet. It's literal shit coming through sheet, and you need to like protect yourself, cleanse yourself, and things like that. Um, and then we have South Galactic. Yeah, I don't think it comes up here. Um, which in this software, I'm not actually sure how to identify it. I don't know if it has another name. So the South Galactic Pole is a calculated point. So it's not a specific star in the sky. It's determined by the observer and then perpendicular to the galactic equator. So the South Galactic Pole is the south polarity on a galactic level. So this point in the chart is associated, or chart or sky is associated with utilizing your past life skills and your past life gifts. It's associated with South Node energy, so it's like all the good stuff from the South Node you can utilize in order to manipulate your material reality to create whatever it is that you want. Um, and it is associated with holding the positive polarity on a galactic level. So that's like yang energy on a galactic level. Then we have Dipta, oh yeah, also known as Deneb Kados and Cetus. This is a very, very ancient energy. This star is believed to be over 1 billion years old. So it's like super, super old. And it is a galactic library. It has all that is, was, and everything that would, could be. It's very similar to the Akashic, but that's not what it felt like. Intensely deep, super, super deep. Like most people can barely skim the surface of the depth that comes through Difta. Like the energetics here, they're not endless, but it's pretty close to it. And this star also holds the codes of how information is passed on between lifetimes. And this can be from like one generation to the next in terms of passing information down through DNA. So that's where that Pisces, like two fish on the opposite end, kind of comes in through Cetus. But also how, like apart from gene expression, how things are passed from one lifetime to the next through the South Node. So the star is associated with the South Node. And a lot of it can be more of the gunky stuff, whereas like South Galactic Pole is more of the gifts that you get from the karmic past. Difta is more associated with the gunk that is there. And there's a lot of South Node rectification that can come through Difta alignments and activations of like, okay, all that gunk, I'm going to clear it sort of thing. Like I'm going to rectify and fix the situation. Really, really good at that. And then another thing that came through a lot with Difta was like a foreshadowing of events. So precognition is really big with this star. And like when there are alignments and activations, there will be like a little hint of what is about to come. So it's really good to pay attention to a lot of the stuff that comes through when there's Difta stuff coming on.
Interesting. I think I have my Mercury and Venus in activation with Dipta.
That's awesome.
And when you're talking, I mean, what just came to my mind, because you were talking about like information being passed down through either lifetimes or through like lineages. And I mean, I feel like I was literally just born with understanding astrology, like the language of the cosmos, which I inherited from my mom, but also just like my first language is astrology and symbols and patterns and understanding archetypes and things like that. But I'm gonna pay more attention now to the pre foreshadowing of things now. So thanks for that.
Yeah, definitely. And even like your own precognitive abilities. I don't remember you sharing any sort of precog stuff, but if that's not already turned on for you, it will activate. Because if you yeah, having that Difta stuff, like yeah, precognition is at the top of that list. But that is really beautiful. Yeah, like it seems like both, like probably in a past life and then also through your mom of just like learning that language. It's so beautiful. And I just think it's so wonderful that she planned her pregnancy like around the cosmos.
Well, she wanted me to have a Scorpio rising because she's a Scorpio. So I was
Oh,
C-section and
okay.
she timed it. But we
Oh,
missed it by 60 seconds. This is all tropically, of course. Like I'm a 0 degree
yeah.
Sag rising. But yeah, she wanted me to be a little Scorpio.
Oh,
We'd have a cosmic connection. Yeah. But she's
well,
actually a Virgo and like will refuse to accept it. So whatever.
uh,
She's still in the tropical algorithm.
uh-huh. Yeah, my mom is too. Yeah, she's stuck at being an Aries. And I'm like, you are such a Pisces lady. Like, we started watching White Lotus, and within the first episode, she told the whole story of what was going to happen. And I was just like,
I would not have
I'm
seen any of that coming. I watched that. That's so
exactly. Yeah, and it
funny.
was season 2 that we watched.
Oh,
So the
okay.
one like in Italy, and
Uh-huh.
she just like everything. She just said from start to finish of like this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And like I'm just sitting there like I'll talk to you later about it because I don't want to like ruin it for her. I was like, oh, that's interesting, maybe, because I had already seen it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I'm just like, yeah, you're so psychic, mom. Like, come on, get with the program. She even has two fish hanging in her basement, like on by the TV and the fireplace and stuff. I'm just
It's
like, look,
hilarious.
look around you, you know? Anyway, that's so funny. But that's really beautiful. And honestly, probably a reflection of your Sagittarius energy. It's like, oh, you want to make a plan? Ha ha.
Yeah, right.
Like,
You think
life's
you're
a
in
joke.
control? Nope.
Yeah, life's a joke. I love that about Sag though, like just the upbeat. I mean, I know you're obviously not a Sag rising, but um all right. Or are you? No, no,
No,
you're
I'm
not.
Libra
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
rising.
That's right. I remember now. Okay, so next we have Elgenib. Okay. So again, part of Pegasus, so it's part of that whole thing. This star is super, super protective. It's an energy that puts a lot of distance between us and anything that intends to do us harm. So it literally is like an energy that goes like this. So if you notice that someone or something like poofs out of your life during Elgenib alignments, that's a really good indication that that person's not supposed to be there, and this star is energetically trying to protect you. Um, I really love Elgenib too. We've had a lot of Elgenib uh, activations and alignments lately. Venus, when stationed retrograde, was at Elgenib. We had the eclipse aligned with Elgenib. So this star has been sort of on the forefront of what's going on a lot lately. And Elgenib also holds the rainbow rays. So this can manifest as a lot of different ways. Sometimes it can materialize as like actual visual rainbow spectrum sort of lights. Like I always get like random rainbow, like literal, like colored rainbow things of light, like in the house at different places during alginate alignments. And then sometimes they can also materialize as unicorns and leprechauns, which also both function on the rainbow rays. So very, very interesting and like kind of fun, cute, playful energy that comes through the rainbow rays with alginib. But alginib also helps with negotiating very skillfully. So there can be confrontation that comes through alginib, but a lot of it is like utilize your words and negotiation skills to the highest degree in order to have some sort of favorable outcome. And it also helps you get to a higher rank. And that also goes with like the rainbow rays. It helps you get to a higher timeline and it helps you get to any sort of like higher thing that you're trying to get to, whether it's a goal or a literal rank in some sort of way. But Elginib will also like shoot anyone down that is not meant to be at that rank. So anyone who does gets to a position of power or whatever that is against divine will, they will get brought down. It's kind of like the Icarus story of like flying too near to the sun. That's the kind of energy that Elginib can hold. And Elgenib also holds codes of the power of 13 and the 13 lunar cycle within a true year and the 13, uh, we'll say archetypes of the zodiac, even though we know that not really to be true because Aries is not a zodiac sign. Um, but Aries and Cetus, technically, I guess we could consider 14. Anyway, it's a discussion for another time. But those energies can come through Elgenib as well. So alignments and activations, people can have like awakenings to Ophiuchus, understanding the true calendar cycle based on uh, 13 lunar cycles as well as Menses. All right. Oh, we'll just go right here. Alpharats is right here. Oh, sound code's coming through. So Alpharos is really interesting. So it's part of the Great Square of Pegasus, obviously, which I forgot to mention about Markab and Elginib and Sheet. So this is the Great Square of Pegasus right here, which is a very powerful asterism that is part of an asterism, I guess you could say. Um, and it used to only be part of Pegasus. Alpharets literally means the horse's shoulder, but in recent years, it's been more associated with Andromeda and is even just like considered an Andromeda star. Um, and so this star is associated with the burdens that are worth carrying because eventually that they will pay off. So the energy from this star can be quite heavy, but it's almost like this is going to make me stronger. And when I get to my destination, like it's going to be worth whatever you just went through. Um, and it's also associated with like timeline shifting energy, like most Pegasus stars are, obviously in accordance with divine will. Um, it is like a cosmic bridge, so it helps you bridge between timelines, but this often is often the energy is gate kept by the Andromedan star system at the fifth dimensional level. So it's like if you're doing something that's against divine will, like you won't even be able to get to any timeline shifts. Like fifth dimension's it. So they're not like huge quantum shifts. It's like lower quantum shifts. So yeah, it's like the Andromedans really hold power over that star in the fifth dimension. Um, and then obviously it also ensures like any timeline shifts that are happening, they protect it to have like anti-war timelines and ensure that anything's happening is eventually leading us to a timeline where there is no war. And then we have Tau Ceti. So this is a very interesting star and is known to be connected to our own sun, interestingly enough. Earth's history is stored here. It's a major data bank in the belly of the whale. So if you ever want to look into Earth history and find answers, this is the star that you want to go to. It is so much there. Like, it's so cute. Like my grandma always said, like, when I die, like I just want to see, how the Earth started and when it will end. I just want to see everything. That's the energy of this star. You can watch it from start to finish. There's so much there. It's also a star of the solar twins. So you can, when activations and alignments happen, there you often have some sort of solar twin. And this can manifest as someone who has the same sun as you, the same degree, or someone who is activating your sun at that degree. And it can also be associated with the twin flame journey. In terms of twin flame stuff, what I was getting is that is associated with those who came into physical union with a twin flame in a past lifetime, couldn't stay in union, and now they are meeting each other again in this lifetime. So some of the journey had already been progressed, but not all of it, and that they are destined to have that, or fated, I'll say, in this lifetime. Um, it's basically like the karma of the twin flame sort of stuff that carries over into this lifetime. Rada doesn't come up. Andromeda. So this is Saturada, also known as Delta Andromeda. So this star is very graceful. Very graceful. It assists with the divine unfolding. It's the act of allowing things to unfold the way that they are supposed to. And it's like allowing the unfolding outside of time. So like understanding divine timing to the point that it is devoid of time, that things are going to happen, when they're meant to happen. It gives the energy of like a lotus slowly opening and just sort of like, yeah, unfolding itself, and is associated with like very graceful energy. It also activates royal DNA. So that can be kind of intense sometimes. The low vibe of this star is where those disability programs come from, of people who feel like they are inherently broken or incapable of healing. It's unhealable. So like chronic disease, chronic pain, disabilities, mental health issues, like believing you have some natural chemical imbalance or bullshit like that, which we already know there's no proof that any mental disorder is a chemical imbalance. That's a lie from pharmaceutical companies. So all that bullshit comes through Saturada as well. It has some lower energy, even though the high vibe is really lovely. And then let's see. Weird didn't come up the first time. So we have Akamar coming here. So this is a star of unfinished business. So it can represent things that you didn't accomplish in your past life that you have to in this life. Emotionally, like emotional programs that need to be put to rest. But it's also associated like helping push people to their greatness, help like progress in some way, helps give energy to people in order to succeed or have that success. Again, it's like it can be unfinished business from a past life, but it can be unfinished business during this life of like, what do I know I'm supposed to do? And I need that jolt to like push me forward. This is a great star to work with in terms of that. It's also attributed to near-death experiences. So it can be through channeling and having sort of like God moments, psychedelic experience, transcendental meditation, but also near death where like you come back and there you have like the energy to like make something of yourself and do things with your life. And um it's like it's energy you bring back from the other realms that help like really propel you forward in a really positive way. I really, really like this star. It's also, if you have this in your chart, you like live a really long time is what it's associated with. All right, and then we have the Andromeda Galaxy, Messier 31, which is this right here. So obviously this stimulates the Andromedan, star seeds and star lineages and things like that. It when we have activations and alignments here, it really helps humanity ascend and supports different shifts in order to help humanity become more intelligent and also energetically balanced. Um, it also can bring a lot of like healing energy and also gives divine inspiration to various technologies and like brings different people information and technology so that we can start building tech that doesn't destroy our planet and isn't harmful and inflammatory to the human species and the other Earth inhabitants. So a lot of like really high divine tech can come through here. Even some like Atlantean level technology comes through here, but without the codes of potential self-destruction. Um, so I really like the energy that comes through Andromeda Galaxy as a whole. And that's the last one. I know, yeah, that was quite a mouthful. Thanks for sticking through, everybody. I was just
Fascinating
gonna,
stuff,
I was just,
Sachi.
huh?
Fascinating stuff.
Oh, yes, I agree. Um, I only got into channeling specific stars like only the past couple years. So it's
Oh,
really been a fun ride for myself to learn these things and then help people with their own charts as well.
you're gonna have to write a book.
Oh, yes.
Many books.
Yeah, that actually is what I was gonna say. Yeah, there's so many books that I
Um,
have to write. I already have my first book done though, Feathermancy. That's a completely other topic. But yes, I love being a conduit of information. It's like one of my absolute favorite things.
Spoken like a
And
true Gemini rising.
yeah, I would really I need to compile it in a way that's more helpful for other people as well. Um And thank you so much for being a guest, Amber. You have been truly lovely, and it's been so nice to connect with you. And I'm so glad that you were able to share some of your story and share your light. And I'm interested to see if some stuff for fate comes through for me after spending time with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sachi. I feel like almost a fangirl because I've been following your work for so long and
Oh,
I
that's so sweet.
never dreamed I'd be on this podcast. But when you put it out there, I was like, yes, it's just we're meant to have this conversation. So, yeah, look forward to the next time you're here on the island and we can connect
Yes,
in real life. And if
definitely.
anyone is visiting Maui and they need a photographer, I'm your girl.
Yeah, excellent. And I'd love to have you on season 2 for a transit episode if you're ever interested in decoding the celestial language together. We can
Always down.
definitely do that. Well, thank you everyone who tuned in to the live. I see there's still some of you there. Thanks for checking out the entire episode for us. This is the True Sky Crew. You can follow us at the True Sky Crew on Instagram and YouTube. And again, you can find Amber at island underscore underscore Amber on Instagram. Are you on any other platforms?
No, just
Okay.
Instagram.
So
I have a
just,
photography website, Amber Claire Photography, for other things, but yeah.
okay. Yeah, definitely check that out. Yeah, if anyone needs a photographer on Maui, definitely. Her pictures are so lovely. I always love looking at her stories because it's always so beautiful. Whether it's just like you just taking a random picture or like your professional stuff, I'm always like, oh, it's so nice.
Thank you.
So it
Very
always like
grateful to be
brings a lot
surrounded
of
by beauty.
yes, yes, that's so important, especially in a world that tries to normalize the ugly.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for the episode 27. And I forgot to say thank you for everyone who tuned in after and is watching this. We are going to be starting season 2 within the next, I don't know, I'm not going to give you time because I'm not going to make a promise I can't keep. But stay updated through either on YouTube or Instagram. I will be posting within a couple weeks before we start season 2. And until then, keep looking up and remember that when you align with the true sky, you align with your true self. Bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Aloha.